Yeah, hi, how are you?
All right, we're on. Daf Lamed Hey and Sukkah. Here we go. Sukkah Lamed Hey. We just started Esrog. We learned the mission yesterday about Esrog, the Psulim of Esrog, and now we begin with the Gemara. Zak the Gemara. Turn Rabbana.
Lamed Hey where?
Lamed Hey and Sukkah. Top of the page.
Oh, Tan Rabbana. Yep.
Yeah. Turn Rabbana. We learned in the Brisa. Pre-eights hadar, that's the pasuk. So it says pre-eights. Fruit, I guess that's like pre-eights. It's a fruit tree, but pre-eights, the Gemara darshans, eights, shetam eitzai uper yeshava. A tree that the bark or the wood and the fruit taste the same. Haviyomer is the esrog, that's the esrog. Haven't tried it, but that's what it says. Ve'ema pilpulin. Maybe it's peppercorns. Pilpulin, if I'm not mistaken, is peppercorns. Could the time like London a brisa? The pasuk says this is talking about the mitzvah of Arla, I think. Vinitatem kol eitz. And then it says you're going to plant a tree. And then at the end of it, it says you're going to take from the fruit. So what kind of a tree is it? Obviously, a fruit tree. So any dashu eitz machel? Do I not know that it's a fruit tree? So matam lemer eitz machel. Why does the Torah have to write that it's an eitz machel? Says the Gemara to tell you eitz shetam eitz per yeshava. Havi omer za pilpulin. It's coming to tell you that pilpulin would be included in these halachas. And the chiddush is that even though it's a low tree, it's very low, but it's considered a tree. And the point is to teach you shapilpulin chevim ba'arla. Number one. The second of all, Ein Eretz Yisrael Chaser Klum. Eretz Yisrael isn't missing anything. It even has pilpulin. Shneim, like the pasuk says, Loisechser Kol Ba. It's not missing. Everything is in it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the kasha is.
At what point is it called a tree?
That's a shaila for brachas, but it's got to be. It can't disappear. It's got to go from year to year, and it's got to have some height. It's got to have some height. So strawberry bushes. So blueberries in our eights, correct? That changed. Blueberries used to be Adam. I know. One of my daughters lost their bracha bee because they said Adam on blueberries. That was my fault. Okay. So where it says, so the kasha is, so maybe when it says, if you tell me the way I know that pre-eitz hadar is from the fact that tam eitz period shavin, so maybe it should be a pilpulin. Maybe we should take peppercorns. Mara says, Hasam Mishum B'lei Efsher. It can't be. Hey Chinev, what are you going to do? Ninkar Chada, to hold one, like Minkara, like Kichasa. You won't be able to say that you're holding anything. So are you going to take a few? Ninkar Trevet Tlasa? Echadam Rechmater says to take one. It's not two or three. Hilkach Lei Efsher. So the pasuk here can't be talking about pilpulin, and therefore we are left with talking about an esrog. Now, just to I think the Rambam in the beginning in his Pirush HaMishnayos, he goes through the different ways you darshan the Torah. So he brings this, I think, as an example. He says, don't think that the Gemara is actually trying to figure out that the Gemara actually has a havamina that it shouldn't be an esrog, that it was a pilpulin. We always knew exactly what the havamina was supposed to be. That was a Messiah, that was Torah Shabbat Peh. But the Gemara is going through that. You can even darshan it from the psukim. I mean, using the Yigil Midas, such as Nedrash band, you're able, or from the Juway to darshan Torah Shabbat, you'd also be able to know it. But not to think that there was ever, the Gemara wasn't sure, like what are we supposed to be taking for the Daled Minim? Okay. Rabbi gives a different drasha. He says, Al Tikri Hadar, don't darshan a pre-eitz Hadar, meaning nice, beautiful. Rather Ella Hadir. Deer is a corral. So ma deer is just like a corral. You got all sorts of animals in your corral. You got big ones, little ones. You got complete ones and ones that have movement on it, and they all hang out together. So too, you need a tree that has gadel and katanim timim and bali movement on it. So, in fact, tomorrow, Paris last move. What other trees don't have that? Every tree has that. Well, what's this? This is what we mean. Ad shaban ketanim adayin gedalim kayamim. It's a tree where the fruit will stay on from year to year. They don't fall off. So you can have big ones, and then you can have little ones starting to grow, and the big ones are still there. So what kind of tree does the fruit stay from year to year? That is the esrog. Rabbi Vo says a different drasha. Al tikri hadar, ella hadar. I don't know. Davar shadar be'ilanai, meaning it's a language not of beautiful, but of hadar, that dwells. A language of dira, of dwelling. Davar shadar be'ilanai mishana lashana. It's a tree. It's a tree that its fruit will hang out from year to year. Rashi points out that's the same thing that Rebbe said. She said you're correct, but it's just you're right. They're saying the same idea that it's a tree that has fruit from one year to the next. They just have machlokes and which part of the how do you darshan it from the pasuk? Is it coming from the lashon of deer being a corral or dar being a place, something that stays from year to year? Ben Azayim, he's got another one. Al tikri hadar ella idur. Sheken b'lashon Yavani karin lamayim idur. In Greek, you would call water idur or hodor, something. Ve'ezo hi shegadol al kol mayim. And what tree or what fruit grows on all water? Rashi in the Kedusha it says that it means afilu mayim she'uvim. Even you can generally trees grow from. Are an orchard. They grow from rain. So here you have trees that grow with irrigation as well, and that's like mayim havi emer ze esrog. Okay, so we have 4 different drashas here. How we get the pri eitz hadar is referring to the esrog. Great. Shalasher shalom nedachas pasuk. My timer. Even the l'sreifa kai, since it's l'sreifa ketute michtas shiurei. Since it's l'sreifa kai, therefore it is missing its shear. Like the end of the Gemara Mishnah said that an esrog has a minimum size. So being that it has a shear, that means it's gotta be something. And being that asher and iridachas needs to be burnt, you got to burn those things. You can't have them around. If you have an avodah zarah tree, so that avodah tree needs to be destroyed. And if you have an iridachas, a city that was condemned because of avodah zarah, that city needs to be burned. So and everything in it needs to be burned. So therefore, since this is meant to be burned, we look at it now as if it's already burnt, and therefore it doesn't have any size. It's like it's meant.
It's non-existent.
Taisus on Davlamid by Mitzvah Baba Aveira mentions this Gemara, and he said there's actually a different girsa, and he says it's a wrong girsa. He brought a girsa there. There is apparently there was a girsa that asked my time, and it said that it's a Mitzvah Baba Aveira. And it's like a Mitzvah Baba Aveira. That's ridiculous. Here, Mitzvah Baba Aveira means that the only way you're able to do your mitzvah is through the Aveira. You stole the lulav and now you have it. So you're able to do your mitzvah because of the Aveira allows you to do the mitzvah. Here, the guy served the tree as avodah zarah. That doesn't allow me to do the mitzvah. That doesn't do anything for me. Stam
it prevents the use of the esrog.
I'm saying, but it doesn't mean mitzvah. But the issue with the mitzvah b'aveira is you can't do a mitzvah that came about through an aveira. Here it didn't come about through an aveira, so that's why he doesn't like that girsa. Okay, we go weiter. Shel arla pasel. All right, let's get this klar because this is going to go through the rest of the page. Shel arla pasel. So arla again is the first 3 years is surena. So what's wrong with it? Why can't you use something which is arla? My time. What's the problem with it? Well, you can't eat arla. If you can't eat arla, that's considered it's not lachem. The pasuk says it's got to be yours. Well, if you can't eat it, then it's not yours. I mean, if something is preventing you from eating it,
if it's yours, you should be able to eat it and do whatever you want with it.
Correct. And if I don't have a heter achila, then
if you can't eat it, then it's
not yours.
It's missing in your ownership. It's you. Right. It could be you own it, but since you can't, yours means that it's yours to do with what you want.
Right.
Being that I can't do what I want with it, then it's missing in being in my own in lachem. Rashi says, "Rachman amar lachem haroi lachem b'chol darchei hanas." It's got to be fit for you in any way of benefiting from it.
Where's the Rashi?
Rashi's further up. It's about, I'd say, 15 lines into the wide lines.
Into the wide lines?
No, into the skinny lines, after the wide lines. See it there?
Yeah.
She'ein is a v'rachmanam. The Torah says lachem. Haroi lachem. It's got to be befitting to you. B'chol darkei hanasa, in all ways to benefit. That's one. The next one says v'chadam l'fi she'ein badin mammon, because it doesn't. It's worthless. Rashi says, I go back to the Rashi. She'ein shava pruta. It's not even worth a pruta. The isuri hanahu, because it's forbidden to benefit from. Hilkach lav shalachemu, and that's why it's not considered lachem, because it's isuri hanas. We have two pshatim. Now, kasaka daita, the Gemara assumes the man de boy heterachila loy by din mammon, the man de boy din mammon loy by heterachila. Meaning these two shitas are mutually exclusive. They don't mind. So the shita that holds that you can't eat it, they will say that even if it's not yours. So, for instance, Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim is a machlokes of Meir and Rabbanan. Who does it belong to? The Reb Meir says it's Mishulchan Gavoya Kazachu. It belongs to Hektish, it belongs to Hashem. You're allowed to eat it, but it's not yours. If you would take Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim and you give it to a lady and say, Rem Mekudeshes with fruit zoo, you would not be Mekudeshes. Ain't a Mekudeshes. Because it's not yours.
It's not yours.
It's not yours. You're allowed to eat it.
The first 3 years.
Correct.
So in the first 3 years,
No, I'm talking about Meiser. No. Early you're not allowed to eat at all. It's asur enough. Okay. Now we have two reasons why. What's the issue with early? Is it because it's asur enough and it's worthless, and that's why it's not considered lachem? It's ownerless. You don't. It doesn't have value, and therefore it's not considered lachem. Or it's not considered lachem because you can't partake in it. That's the issue with it. Not its monetary value, but rather the fact that you can't partake from it. What's an nafkamina? An nafkamina would be Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni is fruit that needs to be brought to Yerushalayim. You can only eat it in Yerushalayim. Mm-hmm. So Meiser Sheni, when you bring a fruit to the Meiser Sheni to Yerushalayim and you want to partake from it, Reb Meir says it's not yours. You're allowed to eat it, but it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Hashem. Okay. Hektish. But you're allowed to eat it. Okay? You're allowed to eat it. So it has a heter achila, but it's aimed by din mammon. It's not yours.
You can't sell it.
So you can't sell it. I couldn't be makadosh a woman with it.
It's not lechem. Put that way.
But you're allowed to eat it.
Okay.
So according to the man Amr that says the issue here is that you can't eat it, you would be fine with that.
What about outside of Yerushalayim?
Everybody would agree. You can't use it. There doesn't have a heter achila, and it's not yours.
But you can be quoted. You can be quoted. Can't you?
Yeah, but if you paid it, then you're paid it. But as in the current state.
But that has a benefit.
Let's get to Meiser Sheni outside Yerushalayim on the Amud Beis.
Okay.
But here the point is, I'm just pointing out what the Gemara assumes now that these two opinions are mutually exclusive. Mm-hmm. That means the one that holds that you need to be able to eat it doesn't care if it has value or not, and the one that says that you it has to belong to you. He doesn't care if you can eat it or not, right? And therefore, he would say that in a scenario of let's say an esrog of tevel. So tevel you're not allowed to eat, but it belongs to you. Tevel is produce that you didn't take shumas and meisers from.
Right.
So you're not allowed to eat it, but it belongs to you.
Right. So what can I do with it?
You can
right?
sell it.
So that would be an nafkamina if you'd be able to use that for an esrog. If you use that as an esrog, would that be okay? Even though you can't eat it, but you can still. It still has value. So that's where the Gemara holds now, that they're mutually exclusive of each other. Mm-hmm. So the Gemara has an issue with that. So let's read it again. Kasaka daite, the Gemara assumes now. Man debai heter achila lebai did mammon. Man debai did mammon lebai heter achila. So today, let's read the Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, "Shall truma tameya puzzle." Truma tameya. If the truma is tamei, then it is puzzle. You're not allowed to use that for an esrog.
You can't eat it.
Well, a kohen cannot eat it,
right?
But it does have value.
Right, you can burn it.
You can burn it. So bishlam l'man da'amar lefisha ein b'heter achila shapir.
You could burn it. It's benefit.
It has value. There's something you can do with it. I can use it as fuel.
You can sell it to another. No, you can sell it
to another. Then it's not burning. If burning it is destroyed.
No. It means I'm allowed to use it to heat up. I can use it as firewood. I'm allowed to use it as firewood. That's what he means. Okay. So bishlam l'man da'amar lefisha ein b'heter achila shapir. If the reason why Earl is no good is because you can't eat it, then I understand why truma tamei is no good because you can't eat it. El l'man da'amar lefisha ein b'din mammon. So then Why should it not be good? You're allowed to use it to heat up your as a fire to cook with.
So at least according
And
to
therefore
one
it
of
has
them.
head. It has. So the kasha is, according to that Manda Amar, what would be wrong with Truma Tameya? Must be. Everybody agrees you need to be able to eat it. The machlokes is even in a situation where I'm able to eat it, but it's aser bahana. Ki pligi bedin mammon. Ma'asav heter achila be'inan din mammon loy be'inan. You need to be able to eat it, but I don't care if it belongs, if it has a value to you. Umar saver, meaning that Umar saver, the other one holds no. Din mammon nami be'inan. Not only do you need to be able to eat this esrog, you also need to have a value. My beinayu, what's the nafkamina? Says the Gemara, Ika beinayu, I'll tell you nafkamina. Meiser sheni sheb Yerushalayim aliba de Reb Meir. If you have Meiser sheni in Yerushalayim, according to Reb Meir, again, Reb Meir holds that you don't own Meiser sheni Yerushalayim, belongs to Hektish, and Mishulchan Gavaya Kazachu. When you eat it, you're eating off the king's table. So Lamandam Nafisha Baheter Achila, Hareyesh Baheter Achila, you're allowed to eat it. And therefore, you would not be able to use an esrog of Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim, according to Reb Meir. Okay, that's where the nafkamina is.
So you can't sell Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim to anybody. Someone comes in hungry, you have to give it to them.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're not sure who said what over here. If you remember, we started with Reb Chibar Oven and Reb Asi, and we didn't say who said which opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Someone wants to bring a riot to Stayim. The Reb Asi, the Amar Lefishem Badimam. Reb Asi is the opinion that you need to own it. It needs to have a value to you. The Amar Reb Asi, he says clearly, Reb Asi, that an esrog of Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim, according to Reb Meir, you would not fulfill your obligation with. Why? Because even though you're allowed to eat it, but it's Mishulchan Gavaya Kazach. This time, so that's a good raya. That Rabasi is the one who said that you not only do you need to be able to eat it, it also has to belong to you.
So what he can't use it for with the lulav, he can't use the esrog?
If you have a Meiser Sheni esrog in Yerushalayim, according to Reb Meir, according to Rabasi, you would not be able to use that esrog. And if you did, you weren't Yotzer.
But you could eat it. That they agree.
Correct.
So it's getting benefit. Benefit of eating you can do, but benefit to
Ami holds that the issue, Rabasi holds the issue with the Arla wasn't the fact that it was an Isra Achila, it was with that it's Asra. No, you can't, that you have no, that's Orla. It's not a din mammon. Correct. And therefore,
we're talking about Meiser Sheni.
Correct. Well, he's going to say the same thing. That since it doesn't have a din mammon, since it belongs to Hektish and not to you, so therefore you can't use it.
That's strange. You can eat it but not use it.
I'm sorry, you're allowed to use it. You can't. It doesn't belong to you. You can eat it, but it doesn't belong to you.
Doesn't belong to you. So if I borrow it as a borrow a sheila to Egud,
Lakachtam lachem. That's
it's not lachem.
Correct.
It's not
same issue.
Lachem.
Excellent point. Excellent. Same. It's the same lachem.
Same lachem.
Same lachem. Correct.
It's not lachem. It's not lachem. Then it's you can't.
You can't use it,
but you can eat it. Interesting.
But I can eat it, right?
Eat it.
It's I'm allowed to eat it, but it doesn't belong to me. It's hektish.
So the Rebbeinu is giving you the right to eat it.
Right. It's like it's called Mishulchan Gavaya. Once you bring to Yerushalayim, it's Mishulchan Gavaya. You're invited to his table. Exactly. Okay. Gufa. So we just learned. Amar Basi Esrog Shemaiser Sheni L'divrei Reb Meir. Ein other than Yotzei Dechavasa B'Yamtiv. L'divrei Chacham Adim Yotzei Dechavasa B'Yamtiv. All right. Listen to this one. Okay, that was good. That's Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim. According to Reb Meir, it's Mishulchan Gavaya. You can't use it for an esrog, according to Rabasi, and according to Chacham, you could. Great. Next, matzah. What about matzah of Meiser Sheni? Again, in Yerushalayim, you have matzah of Meiser Sheni. So you're allowed to eat it. L'divrei Reb Meir, ein adam yotzei d'bar yidei chavasa b'Pesach. According to Reb Meir, it's not yours. You can't fulfill your obligation with it. We'll see why in a minute.
What obligation?
Of eating matzah on the first night of Pesach.
So you can't have it if it's
Meiser Sheni. But according to the Chachamim, it's yours. So you could be Makadosh and Isha with it, and you could eat it on the first night of Pesach. And you'll be fulfill your obligation. Meaning, it sounds like here that there's a halacha that the matzah needs to belong to you. And the big kasha we'll see in a minute is, where does it say anywhere, matzah seichem? Where does it say that it has to be your matzah? We'll get to that in a minute.
No, but according to according to Meir, you can eat. You're allowed to eat the matzah. You're allowed
Correct.
to eat it.
You can eat it.
This is by Sheni.
Correct.
So if you're eating it already, then why aren't you yotze the mitzvah?
Because he holds it. It sounds like it needs to be yours.
So you know what? It's
Can I make a bracha on it?
Yeah, you can eat it. You just can't do the mitzvah with it.
Well, what mitzvah am I going to do with the matzah besides making the bracha and eating it?
Well, if you want to use it for like a mishnah, I'd say tonight, that's fine. But if you want to fulfill your mitzvah of achilas matzah, you can't use it according to this shita because he holds it needs to be, you need to own it.
What does he learn that?
So we're going to get to that. We'll get to that. It's the Gemara. But we have a third halacha Rabashi says about Isa dough of Ma'aser Sheni. L'diver of Meir Petur Menachala, because it needs to be your dough. If it belongs to Hekdesh, it's parted from Chala. L'diver Chacham Chayeves B'Chala, because it's yours. So first, let's start. Maskal Rapapa. Rapapa interjects. What's going on over here? Bishlam Isa. When it comes to the dough, Ksiv Reishis Arisa Seichem. Okay, it's got to be your dough. It says it has to be yours. I'll get it. I'll get it.
Okay. Still faster than me? That's for sure.
How are you, Mike?
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so yours, it's got to be yours. Very good. Does it say anywhere it's got to be your matzah? Yeah, we have a gzera shava. It says by matzah lechem oini. Uksiv hasam, and it says by chala v'haya ba'achlachem milechem haaretz. So ma'alahalan, just like by chala, the halacha of chala mishalachem, it needs to be yours. V'loy mishal meiser, afkan mishalachem v'loy mishal meiser. It's got to be yours, and it can't be from meiser. Okay, so we have a new halacha here that the matzah that you eat on Seder night needs to belong to you, at least according to Rabasi. Okay. Now, so why don't we have a ceremony of people being marked to the matzahs? That should be part of the summer. Part of the Seder should have been everybody pick up your matzah and be kind to it. It should have to be like a
you have to give the balabas.
The balabas has to be marketed to everybody. It's yours. So you never knew that, but that's really what you're doing. The assumption is that when you're giving it, you're handing it to people. Maybe that's why maybe I wonder. There's some people have a minhag that the Baal Seder gives out the matzah to everybody. He passes out, he portions it out, and people don't just take, they portion out. Maybe that's an Indian. Okay, but the pasha says that when you come to see somebody's table, they're giving you the food that it belongs. It's yours.
You're thinking that it's his. It may not even be his. Now, can you do something that's not his? You can't do that either.
Okay, lema misayele. So let's bring a raya. We're going to bring a raya to Ravasi. It says here, Isa shemaisa sheni petur menachal divrei me'acham im mechayeves b'chala. What do you mean? Let's say that's a great right to say. His mom is exactly what he said. That's a wonderful raya. He. Mara says, but that brisa was only referring to the Isa. It didn't say it about matzah, and it didn't say it about Ezra. So Mara says, we can assume that maybe just like he's arguing in Chala, he's also, they would also argue, meaning Reb Meir and Lacham would also argue by Esrog and Matzah as well. Or maybe not. Maybe Shani Isa Amar Sechem Trezim. Maybe really you wouldn't make such a deal. It has to be yours. And maybe Ma'aser Sheni would be okay, even according to Reb Meir, for Matzah and for and for esrog, but specifically by arisei sechem, by challah, where it says it explicitly, arisei sechem twice. Maybe that's where that's why because it says it twice. That's why it needs to belong to you. So that's why maybe it's not a raya.
But Ma'aser Sheni does not belong to you,
According to Reb Meir.
according to Meir.
Right, but maybe, meaning the Gemara is saying that this brace is not necessarily right to Reb Asi.
So the Chachamim think that Ma'aser Sheni belongs to you.
Correct.
That Ma'aser Sheni belongs to you, and it has no value.
Does have value.
It has value.
Yeah,
Ma'aser
and
Sheni.
you're allowed to eat it. That's
No,
how
you can eat it, but
and it has value. You can make Makadosh Anisha with Ma'aser Sheni. It's yours. Yeah. That's the Machlokes of Meir and the Chacham.
And what about that's what do you call it?
Shulchan Gavur, they disagree with that. They don't agree with that. Ma'aser Sheni is not like that. They hold Ma'aser Sheni is yours. Okay.
And that's what we hold.
I would assume so. I would assume we hold it to Rabbanan.
I mean, if it's Ma'aser Sheni of Isa, I mean, do you have to give challah on? Do you have to give challah on Ma'aser Sheni?
That's the Machlokes of Meir and the Chacham. I would assume we pass like the Chacham, but I didn't check it out. Okay, the Gemara continues. The Mishnah said Shal Truma Tamei Pesula. That Truma Tamei is puzzle, and now we know why. The lesba heter achila. Very simple. You can't eat Truma Tamei, and everybody agrees that you can't eat it. It's no good. So that's fine. Shal
Even
Truma,
if a kohen tummy can't eat Truma Tamei, right?
correct. No one can eat Truma Tamei. The only thing you can do with it is use it to burn the firewood. The lesba heter achila, fine. B'shal Truma Tahira. So we said lechatchila, you're not supposed to even use Truma Tahira, but if you did, it's kosher. Why is that? It says, I mean, you're yotzi your mitzvah. Why shouldn't you use it? It says the Gemara, pligi bar ba'ami v'rabasi. Machlekes chadam rabnei machshira. One says the reason why you're not supposed to use Truma Tahira is because you will end up being machshir at lakabel tuma. Why? Because the Mishnah says, what would you do with your aguda, your hishana? You would put it into water. Then you're going to take it out of the water, and it's going to touch your esrog. The water is going to touch your esrog. Now your esrog is royal lakabel tuma, and it can easily become tamei. And there's a halacha that mishmeres trumasi. There says you have to guard the truma from becoming tamei, and therefore we want to keep it from being huksha. So that's one reason why you shouldn't use a tahar esrog. Number one. Second reason is because you're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin it because everybody's holding on to it, and it goes. You're rubbing it around your hands, and you're not allowed to be mafsid truma. Same thing. You have to guard the truma, and you can't be mafsid. You can't ruin it. Okay. Ma benai, what's the nafkamina? The guy says this esrog is truma, except for its outer peel. So the whole thing is truma except the outer peel. Okay. So if the concern is that you're going to ruin it, well, here you're not ruining truma because the outer peel is not truma.
How does that happen? That the outer peel?
Well, I said so. I could say, I mean, I have to give mafish
giving
truma.
only the inside,
Only the inside. Or let it, or he can have the whole thing. The outside is not truma, right?
The outside is not.
That's one. But if the issue is being machsharet, well, it can still become mekabel tuma. Taisa says another nafkamina would be in a situation where the esrog was already hochshel kabel tuma. It already got wet. So I don't have that. It's already hochshel kabel tuma. So maybe now you should be able to. If the issue is only that you're going to be machsher kabel tuma, well, it's already hochshel kabel tuma. So you don't have that concern.
Well, the more you shouldn't use it then.
He does it. So it could be, meaning maybe you'll say no. That when the Gemara says the issue of being machsher, what the Gemara really means is that we don't want you to use it because you're making it more. It's going to be more easily it could become tamei. Doesn't say that though, but that's a positive. Taisa didn't agree with that. Svara, Taisa held that the issue. He held that you're being machsher like Abel There is no problem being machsher. Like it's already hochsher, so then you don't have an issue. Okay. Let's go by though. The not we said that if you use this esrog of truma tayra, it's kshera. You were yetzi the mitzvah. So l'manar neisha im b'heter achila, because hareish b'heter achila. The one who holds that the issue with the arla is that it's not that you're not allowed to eat it. Well, here you're allowed to eat it. The kohen can eat it. Even a Yisrael can give it to a grandson if he has a kohen that's a grandson, or he could sell it and to a kohen.
Which one are we talking about now?
We're talking about Truma Tahira,
Okay.
right? The reason why you're allowed to b'diavad you were yetzer mitzvah because it has a heter achila. You're allowed to eat it. And lamanda amar lefisha badin mammon ariyesh badin mammon. It has value, right? A kohen can be makadosh a woman with it. A Yisrael can give it to his.
So the only reason you shouldn't
To
be
a
doing
kohen.
it because you're afraid it might become tumah. But if you did use it and it didn't become tumah,
Or ruin it.
or you didn't ruin
Right.
it, then it's okay. Then you did the mitzvah.
You'd fulfill the mitzvah. The reason is because there's nothing. Why shouldn't you? It's considered lachem. It's yours. Okay, v'shal demai. The Mishnah said you shouldn't use demai. So we had machlekes b'sham v'sil. V'sil says no good. B'sham says it's okay. Demai is produce that you bought from an Amma Aretz. So Chazal. So you can. We're concerned that maybe they didn't take off. Truma, we assume they took off. We're concerned that they didn't take off Meiser, Trumas Meiser. Okay, that's what we're concerned. They didn't do so, and Trumas Meiser. So that's our concern. Most of them did, but there were some that didn't. So Chazal were geyser on all. If you buy from Amma Aretz, it's called Damai. Damai means what is this? And therefore, they required you to be ma'afish Trumas. You have to be ma'afish Meiser and Trumas Meiser again. Okay, but. So now the question is, can you use this as, will you fulfill your obligation with this? So Bisham still said yes. Why? He said, because if you wanted to, you could be mafker all your nechasim. I mean, you can make yourself into a poor person. Become an ani. And you're allowed to eat it. Well, we'll see in a moment. Therefore, even now, even before you do that, I can consider lechem, because you have the ability to eat this. There was halacha you were allowed to feed aniyim demai, either because Chazal were on geyser on demai, it's only a chash anyway. So if you want to, the Rambam learns it's to promote achnas archim. That we want you to be machnas arch, so you can give them demai. Others learn because of maybe they weren't geyser in such an instance. But for aniyim, okay. Vesachsan, you can also feed achsanya, or Jewish. Are you the army that was staying by you? You're allowed to feed them demai. Okay, so Beis Shammai says there's an eitzah to eat it. So maybe let's consider lechem. Beis Hillel holds no ani lo'achol demai. Beis Hillel disagrees, and he says that an ani cannot eat demai. It's not like we learned this in a Mishnah. It's machlekes. Machilan aniyim demai, v'sachnasai demai. V'amar Ravuna tana Beis Shammai amim. Ein machilas aniyim v'sachsan demai. Beis Hillel amim machilas aniyim demai v'sachsan demai. Okay, so that's the machlekes. Everybody agrees in this migu. Everybody agrees that since you could be in a situation where you would be able to eat it, so therefore it's even considered lachem now, even though you weren't mafkir in a chazim yet. Machlekes is whether an ani is allowed to eat demai. Machlekes Beis Shammai. Okay. Shalmai Zesheni Shebirushalayim. So this we discussed. Lamadam mepnei shemachshira. If again, we also said b'lechatchila you should not use Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim. You should not. Well, we're saying Lamadam mepnei shemachshira. According to the one that said the reason why you shouldn't use Truma Torah is because you're going to be machshir lekabel tuma. So then Hari Machshira. Same issue here. And Lamadam mepnei shemafsida Hari Mafsida. So you have the same issue that you would have by Truma. You would have by Meiser Sheni.
What, Meiser Sheni cannot be eaten betuma in the betama?
There is a mitzvah to make sure that Meiser Sheni does not become tamei and does not get ruined.
Even for non kohanim, you're saying?
Yeah, Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni. Yeah, Rashi says Meiser Sheni ba'i shimur the kodesh ikri d'chsev v'chal Meiser haaretz. Now, could you eat it if it became tamei? I don't know. Maybe not. You need shimur, just like Truma needs to be watched. So to make sure it does not become tamei, Meiser Sheni also needs to make sure it doesn't become tamei.
So I guess you have to eat it, and you have to eat it.
I would imagine this is tahar.
It'll become tamei.
Yeah. If you use it, it's okay. Again, according to the one that says that it needs to be edible, you need to be able to eat it. So then this mission is going according to both the Reb Meir and the Chacham. According to the one that says that you have to own it, So then the Hamani, the Tan of our Mishnah, is the Rabbanan. It's not going like Reb Meir, because according to Reb Meir, being that Mishloch and Gavaya Kazachu, you would not be able to eat Ma'aser Sheni. You'd not be able to. You don't own Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim, and therefore you would not be able to use it as your esrog. And therefore, the Tan of our Mishnah says that if you used it, you fulfilled the mitzvah. It's not Reb Meir; it's only the Rabbanan. Okay. Also chazas. Now we talk about blisters on the esrog. Okay. Amar of Chizah Davar Zeh Rabbeinu Agadol Amri. So I want to share this. We had this before. I want to share with you something that Rav said, and Amakim Yeba Azri, because Rav is up that. Loishan Elba Makim Echad. This is only if the blisters are on one spot. Aval B'Shnei Mashleishim Makim is kosher. But if the blisters were in 2 or 3 spots, it would be kosher. Amar Leia, or it shouldn't say Amar Leia. Say Amar Rava. Rava was many generations after Rav. Other Rava. If it's 2 or 3 spots, then it's like it's spotted. Upasla, it's for sure no good. It's going on the end of the Mishnah. It's a chumrah. Al mi'utai kasha. The Mishnah said if it's a chazaz, this chazaz is on a part of the esrog, then it's kasha. Amar Rav Chizah. That's only if it's in 1 spot that it's kasha. But if it's in 2 or 3 spots, then then it becomes like a spotted esrog and it's pasul. And if it's on the chaitim is either the part of the esrog that slopes upward.
Okay.
That's one opinion, or the chaitim is the pitim.
No?
Yeah. 2 opinions of what the chaitim is. Rashi says the chaitim is the part of the esrog that slopes. If you look at the second to last skinny line, it slants from there and goes upwards towards the top.
From where is he talking about? From where is it starting? So what is he
I
talking
think
about?
it's the esrog,
The bottom, the top. It's really the top
at the top of the esrog,
because it grows that way from the stem.
but not from the stem, and then as you're getting towards the pitum,
It narrows.
right, it narrows. The whole esrog narrows.
No, it grows from the stem and it
That's the
goes
bottom.
down.
That's the bottom. Okay, so
That's
then
That's the top, really.
okay.
No,
Well, the way we hold it.
Because the way we hold it is that okay, it's the bottom.
Yeah.
The way we hold it is the bottom.
No, the way we hold what's the bottom?
This
The
is-
ukitz is the bottom and the pitum is on top.
Right.
So you were talking about it's slanting towards the pitum.
Yeah.
So that whole area that's slanted is called the chaitim.
But
Oh, really?
it's interesting. It has to be. There are esrogim I've seen. When it gets to the top, you notice that they start slanting. It doesn't go, to the top, to the thing,
Yeah.
but it begins to slant.
The turn, it'll go
Right,
to
there's a little
The
turn.
whole
Okay.
thing turns.
Right.
It's not, it's a crooked esrog.
Well, you got names of crooked esrog. Is it good?
Yeah, it depends if you like it. That's an issue of Hadar,
It's got to
maybe.
be straight.
Well, it should go to the top. Like
Okay.
we're saying. You see a lot of them where they have a twist.
So anyway, on the chaitim, I feel the mashu nami puzzle. Even a little bit is going to be puzzle, but don't think you have to use a loop. Says Rashi, first wide line. I feel a kolshu puzzle. Shenira sham la'inaim yoser. The issue is that the top of the esrog, you see it's more noticeable. Mishar Makai Mishabai Shabai Adam Naisin, because that's where a person is Naisin. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at the top part of the esrog, and therefore it needs to be cleaner. And therefore even a kol shu is going to be a problem. Okay.
You talk about blisters.
These are chazazes, or spots. The issue is, blatluch are not an issue. Brown dots are not an issue. The issue is dark, like black or red. That's where you're going to have issues. On your esrog, black dots are a problem.
That's why they take a little bit of it's like glue. That hit the black spot and it comes off.
Oh.
So it was schmutz. It wasn't.
Right.
Right.
It wasn't stuck on it.
You got to be careful. The
Yeah.
pin is that can break the.
You can
whole
scratch it, but if you see people, what loops people are looking at loops, what they should be doing. That's as if you see something on your esrog. You're supposed to hold the esrog like this and look at it from here. You can't say anything from here. It's beseder. But if you notice something and you have to see, okay, so what I saw something there. I saw a spot. I saw something. Well, what color is that? If it's black, I can't tell from here. If it's black, it looks black to me. Well, then you're allowed to take a loop and say, "Oh no, it's not black. It's brown." Then it'll be okay. But if you're looking and it looks dark, and you take a look and it's black, then it's not no good.
And what color is all right?
Brown is okay, and the lights, all the bloodlook are okay.
Earth tones, earth tones.
Okay.
Yellow?
Well,
I meant-
the
I
white
meant
spots, the white spots
I
are
meant
an
the
issue
whitish
also.
yellow.
That would be an issue. Okay.
The
Tell me
white's an
obviously.
issue?
I don't remember. It's maybe make it. I don't know. Next. Natla pit masif, the pitim came off. Tan Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar, natla buchnasai. What's the buchnasai? Buchnasai is the eights that's on top. That stick. Because it looks like a buchna. Buchna is it's like a mortar pestle. Which one's the one that smashes?
The pestle.
Yeah, so it looks like
Smashes
the
into
pestle.
a mortar.
Right. So the pestle is called, that's a buchna, is a pestle.
That's what holding up the
The shashanta.
The
right.
shashanta is the holding up. That's what
You're
you're
right.
talking about?
Correct.
That's the buchna?
That's the buchnas. Yes. That's one opinion. Rashi brings another opinion from Rabbeinu Yitzchak. He doesn't like it, but he brings it that here we're talking about the bottom of the esrog. And he says there are two parts of the uketz. There's a part of the stem that is covering, that basically goes over the esrog. And then there's part of the stem that goes into the esrog.
Yeah.
So he says the part of the stem that goes into the esrog, if that falls out, then you're in trouble. That's no good. If the part of the stem that's on the outside of the esrog comes off, that's okay.
That's just making it a shorter stem.
Right. Okay, one more Gemara. Niklaf, if it peels, Amarava, Hai Esrega the Iglid Kahina Sumka Kashera. If you have an esrog that was peeled, and now it is red like a red date, a date that when you peel a date, it turns reddish. Like everything that peels. So here you peeled your esrog, and it's reddish now. Well, not, and it says it's kasha. Our Mishnah said that niklef is puzzle. Like kasha, habakula b'miktsasa. Depends how much you peel. If you peel the whole thing, that'll be kasha. But if you peel part of it, now it's going to be spotted and it's going to be puzzle.
You come by the spotted